Hello, folks. Thanks for tuning in from wherever you are. This is a very, very happy occasion for me. Maybe a little anticlimactic since my new stuff's been live on all of the platforms for 6 weeks or so, and I've been sharing different numbers from it in my live streams. But in show business, we call that a soft opening. But I am happy to be doing something official to welcome into the world my newest collection of original songs, which is an extended play, as many of you already know, called Expansion. And I am so grateful to all of you for being here to celebrate this with me, and I thought we would try something a little bit interesting, a little bit different. And I'm going to bring in a friend of mine who's going to lead a conversation about this. A wonderful, wonderful guy that I've gotten to know over the last year or so. He is a professional life coach. He has a great online product called Opening to New Possibilities, Opening to Greater Possibilities. I have been on his podcast called The Person You Want to Be, and it was a wonderful experience. And I am a musician primarily who has a great interest in personal development, and he is a personal development expert who has a great interest in music. So we have bonded really well. And of course, he has fantastic taste. He likes all the same people we like: Billy Joel, Elton John, Neil Diamond, all the singer-songwriters, all that good stuff. So I thought it would be really fun to have Eric join me and be part of sort of a conversation about the new record. We're going to share the music with you in performance, and then also at the end we're going to share something I'm super proud and excited about, a brand new, my first official music video, and we'll talk more about that later. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you my friend and the co-host of today's event, Mr. Eric Teplitz.
Hey, Steve. Hey, everybody. It's a pleasure to join you all today.
It's good to have you with us, Eric. So let's just quickly say hello to some of the people who are here and acknowledge their presence, if that's all right, before we get into our discussion. Hi, Daniel Marisco. Sometimes I got to get a little closer to the screen just to make sure I'm reading it right.
Daniel will be happy to know I'm here in LA, live from Los Angeles. So
exactly. And Silviu is joining us from Romania. This is a very late night. Don is, how you doing here? So, by the way, Silviu, thank you for your kind words. You are one of the good ones, my friend. Thank you very much. This is Don in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Thank you, sir. I know you've been listening, and thank you for your praise. Always happy to have Canadians join us. It's one of my dear places in the world is Canada. I've met many wonderful people from that part of the world. Bill Hasty, our music trivia specialist. How we doing? Thank you very much, Bill. Appreciate it. This is my sweetheart in España, mi amiga Lucia. Very, very talented young lady who is going to have a promising career of her own. Thank you for taking a few minutes to tune in. I don't know if you'll be able to stay with us all night, but I know you'll watch the replay. Much love to you, mi amiga. Blue Ice Cream. I love that name. I just love it. Thanks for joining us. Al Smith is here. I appreciate it, Al. Hawaii is all ears. Oh, man. I wish I were in Hawaii for this stream. That would be fantastic. Jakob Mortensen is joining us from Denmark. Thank you very much. I believe it's already there. I shared it at the point of, it's probably down in a little farther down the post stream, but I shared it the day that I scheduled this, so should be in there already. Thanks, Jakob. Michael Bennett's here from Philadelphia. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mike. Dawson Rogers, another young, talented musician who is going to be fun to watch develop because he's already got a lot of skills. Ruth Ann Greenberg in Washington, D.C. Thank God it's Monday. Where are the pina coladas? That's a really good question, Ruth. Why didn't either of us bring a drink? This is insane. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you did. Okay. But both of us are lame. It's just water, right?
Lame or professional, whichever.
Yeah, well, they have there's a fine line between the two, isn't there? Okay. I will just share this with the Facebook group real quick to make sure that it gets there. I could have sworn I already did this, but that doesn't mean that it went through successfully, so talk amongst yourselves for just a moment while I'm on another screen figuring this out. Share, group, that group, post. Okay. Now I can come back to this screen with a clear conscience. Oops, not that screen. That screen. Okay. Max Piano's here from St. Petersburg in Russia. Thank you very, very much, Max. I know that you're probably having to use a verified private network or something. It is not easy for you to use YouTube or Facebook right now, but it means more to me than you know that you are staying up so late and making the effort you are to be part of the community. You are our friend. Ruth Hooker, one of my favorites, the unicorn lady, is here. George Starasta is here. Thank you very much, sir. Also out in Pittsburgh, Susie Wheeler in Florida, one of our regulars. Young Wyatt, another young up-and-coming talent. Can't wait to see what happens. I feel like Emperor Palpatine, though, in the Phantom Menace of Star Wars. He's like, and you, young Skywalker, we shall watch your career with great interest. Anyway. And Big Ships, we're doing great. Thanks, I appreciate it. Wheat Project. So I take it you are not gluten-free. Good to have you with us. Thank you so much. And Steve Wakowicz from On Top of Superior. Nice. Appreciate that. Also joining us from Canada. And Lee Scott. Okay. Thank you so much, Lee. So we're not going to be probably taking, oh my God, Scotty Z's here in New York. How you doing, bud? Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to get into sort of our program here, and occasionally we'll check with the comments, but this is not like a take requests and play them all day kind of a thing. It's a little bit different kind of event. So Eric, I brought you onto this because I thought it would be a little awkward for me to just yammer out into the woods, and I thought you would bring some structure and coherence to the conversation about this. No pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. So I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to let you kind of take the reins and ask me what you want to talk about.
Yeah, so I'm interested to know, first of all, obviously this project was derailed by COVID, or I should say delayed by COVID. So can you tell us a little bit about, first of all, why you decided to title this Expansion, other than the fact that perhaps it has E and P in the name, and how it got started, how this particular collection of songs got started?
Okay, well, it got started in the kind of the normal way, which was I finished my album Keep This Party Rolling and dropped it in about January or February of 2018. I had worked on it along most of the year of 2017, and we had some delays on that because my audio engineer got a terrible case of diverticulitis and ended up having to have bad surgery, and so we had these gaps of like for a few months where he couldn't work, and so that album ended up coming out later than it would have. And so it came out in 2018, and I don't know. After a couple of months, I just started getting itchy. I started writing again, and I'd actually written a couple of songs. I had written a couple of songs that I was already kind of proud of, and I thought, well, I guess I'll just start on the new album. And I decided I was going to take a little bit different approach on this one. In the past, what I had always done was waited until I had 10 or 12 songs written, and then I would actually sit down and put what I call rhythm skeletons down on my sequencer. Here, I'm going to change the view a little bit. This guy over here, which is what I use to make all of my rhythm section tracks, bass, drums, and then of course I use this as the piano, and then I usually from that point will send it off to my guitar player, get his tracks, and then I might add organ or strings or something to it and backing vocals and all of that. But I just thought, well, rather than wait until I have an entire album written, maybe what I'll do is just when I write a song, I'll sit down and do the whole thing and then go work with Bob, because he was local, my sound engineer, and we'll just get a whole song done. And then I'll do it again, and then I'll do it again, and I'll do it again. And when there's 10 or 12 of them there, then I'll make an album out of it. And if I had not taken that approach, we wouldn't be here right now, because I started that in the middle of 2018, and by the end of 2018, I had done 2 of them. Actually, I guess a third was on its way. So I had 3 of them accomplished by the end of 2018, and then 2019 was an incredibly busy year with travel, and so I only got I had 2 more done by probably the middle of that year. And I was fully ready, because by then I had written other songs, and I was ready to knock out the last 5 or 6 so that we could put an LP together. And then COVID happened, and I couldn't sit in a room with my audio engineer, and that's the part where I really, really need the most help. So then the delay began, and I only had 5 done, and my intention had been, well, I guess I'll just wait, because I really wanted to put together a collection as big as my normal ones and put out a full long play. And instead, at some point I said, I have no idea how long it's going to be before I get to sit in a room with anybody again, so maybe I should just release the 5 that are done, because if I wait any more now, the vibe isn't going to feel the same in the music that I bring in. They're not going to feel like they belong in a collection together. That energy just kind of changes once you get too spread out. So that's how that came out. As far as using the word expansion, I had came up with that idea in 2019 while I was traveling, because it was a time in my life where I could feel that my life was becoming bigger than it had been up to that point. I spent 5 weeks in Europe in the summer, and then I went on a 3-week European cruise later that same year. I met a bunch more people, and I got to do some things that I had never done before, and I could just see that the scope of my career and the kinds of things that I was going to be doing with my life had crossed a Rubicon, and that I was living in a larger universe than I had been living prior to that. And I thought that I would just let the title of the album reflect that. And the last two albums I had just named after one of the songs on the record, and I thought, well, okay, that's cool sometimes, but if for every Street Life Serenade there should be a Turnstiles, where the name of the record has nothing to do with any of the songs. So that's how that went.
I love it. And I already know a little bit about the backstory of the video that's coming at the end of this broadcast, but there was it was filmed over there in Europe in 2019, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of my piano students at the Piano Man Approach contacted me and said, if you ever want to come to Europe and spend some time, come to Romania. I'll put you up at my place, and I'll show you Romania. But you need at least 3 to 5 weeks to really do this right. But if you do it, I'll show you all around Romania, and then we'll hop in the car and just go see other parts of Europe. And I was like, how could I not do that? And So we got talking about it, and Elton John had begun his Farewell Yellow Brick Road tour, which would have been done already by now, but COVID kind of extended that. But he was in the first leg of it, and he was playing in Europe. And I saw that he was going to be in Graz, Austria on, I think it was July 5th of 2019. And I said, how about I come this summer and we will go see Elton John in Austria as part of our, and she was like, yes. So that's how we kind of built the itinerary around that. And so I was there from early June until about July 10th or 11th. And we spent 2.5 weeks driving around and visited something like 12 countries. And then also spent 2 or 3 weeks just going all over Romania. And without me realizing that we were going to do this, she's really, really brilliant photographer and had a friend help her out. And she said, we're going to make a music video for you, because I had shared the song with her because I already had it done. It was the first one that I completed for the album in 2018. And she said, we're going to make a music video for this. And we took her keyboard out on an X stand and just set it up. And when it wasn't plugged in or anything, but it was a good enough visual, and I could stand and play and sort of, do the miming that you've got to do in all these interesting locations. Then she took, shots of me walking and talking and sitting and singing and that kind of stuff. And we got gorgeous footage from a drone and from all kinds of different angles in different parts of Italy and Austria. And I believe there might be a shot or two from Switzerland in there too. So it was a pretty surreal experience. And then she cut it together into a gorgeous video. So
How fun. It's almost like a future Steve maybe intervened and said, you want to do this in 2019, sir. Get this.
Oh my God, yes. Oh my, yes. I mean, I can't imagine, like the world changed so much after that. Like we really live in a different place now than we did. Not that European adventures aren't going to happen. I mean, I'm going back there later this year, but it's but traveling and just like we all lived through something that will forever be part of our experience, and it kind of changed a lot of things. So I'm glad that I did it before, back when I was innocent and didn't know about the COVID virus.
So are you interested in sharing that first song with us? Do you want to get started with music?
This one, so this song is called One Laugh and One Look, and it started out, first 3 songs on this record actually were inspired by 3 different girls that I met in Colorado at one point, different degrees.
Hey, Steve, you want to make you fill the screen so that we can watch what we're doing?
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Thanks, Eric. This is why you're here. You gotta keep me honest. So I met this. I was visiting a friend of mine in Estes Park, Colorado, in 2017, shortly after my dog had passed, and so I was looking for things to feel happy about. And kind of get over the sting from that whole thing. And we went to this little cafe, and it's a cafe/pie shop. And the girl that came over to wait on us was, she was drop dead gorgeous, but also just really sweetheart. And she and I we were bantering a little bit, and I found out her name and all of that, and she was from Russia. And I've talked about this before. It's very, very special to me when I get to make friends with somebody from a place that maybe I would have been trained by my upbringing or my culture to have a bias against, because it's fun to find out how much we're all alike when you get past these things like differences of opinion between your governments or whatever. And so it was really fun to get to know her, and so we became Facebook friends, and we had a really nice, have stayed in touch. We're still in touch 5 years later. In fact, she's back in Estes right now on another work exchange. But the crux of it is that I was having these really cool conversations with her via like Facebook Messenger and whatnot. And I'm always looking for something to write a song about. And we'll talk about my writing process later. But I thought this was a good backdrop. Meeting somebody at a restaurant like that who's from another country who then is going to have to go back to the other country. So it's like you make the connection and then they have to leave. And so you have to have your friendship over social media. And then I gave it a romantic component because who the hell wants to hear a song about, two platonic pen pals? But that's really kind of what this song ended up being about. So it's inspired by true events, but then there's certainly some artistic license here. It's called One Laugh and One Look. I'm going to bring the words up. I don't trust myself to know all of them. I'll catch myself before we get out of hand. Still don't know why I went to that pie shop. It's more my style to go to an IHOP, but I had the urge, and it couldn't be denied. And I wasn't looking for love again. At most I was out for one night stands. I couldn't face the thought of even more tears cried. But you walked out from that back corner and came my way to take my order. When you looked at me, I was whole again. All it took was one laugh and one look from you, and my heart was back in business. All you did was smile, and I was hooked on you. Just like a kid at Christmas, it wasn't that much, just my whole world you shook with one laugh and one look. You smiled and giggled with me so sweetly, and I was afraid I might lose you completely when you said that you were going home across the ocean. And I knew I'd met someone special, and I knew that I'd feel so regretful if we never met again. That's when I got the notion to ask if we could keep in touch. And when you said you'd like that very much, it filled my heart with joy, and I knew we'd find a way. All it took was one laugh and one look from you, and my heart was back in business. All you did was smile, and I was hooked on you. Just like a kid at Christmas, it wasn't that much, just my whole world you shook with one laugh and one look. Yeah. Took a couple of years of Instagramming, talking to each other by Facebook chatting before we had the chance to hold each other close. And it was hard, but it was worth the wait, 'cause I was falling more in love with you every day. Now that you're here, I'll never let you go. All it took was one laugh and one look from you, and my heart was back in business. All you did was smile, and I was hooked on you. Just like a kid at Christmas, it wasn't that much, just my whole world you shook. I can't believe how quickly I got hooked. It might sound crazy, but I swear that all it took was one laugh and one look. One laugh, one look. Oh, that's all it took to get me hooked. One laugh, one look. Yeah. Might sound crazy, but I swear that all it took. I can't believe how quickly I got hooked. It wasn't that much, just my whole world you shook. With one laugh and one beautiful look.
All right. Nicely done, man. Really enjoy that piano playing at the end, too.
I appreciate that. So I had a nice experience with that song. I was trying to go for kind of a Jason Mraz vibe. I've never written I tried to squeeze a lot of words into that one.
Yeah, you mentioned your songwriting process, and I'm curious to know, is it different for every song? Do you have you mentioned that you're always on the lookout for ideas for songs. Does that mean you usually start with some kind of lyric content? Does it start with a piano, a chord progression, or a riff? What would you say?
On occasion, I will have like a musical idea rolling around that is just waiting for something to show up lyrically. But usually, here's the thing: I have in common with Billy Joel that I like to write the lyrics and the music both. I also have in common with him that I like to write stories. I'm more of a realist with my lyrics rather than an impressionist, if you will. Not that I think it's bad to write the other way, but I'm not a very abstract lyricist. I'm usually pretty straightforward with what I'm trying to say. But I have in common with Elton John that I have a very quick, the musical part of it, I write very quickly. So that doesn't mean that I have an entire lyric ready, but I usually don't have a reason to write a song until I know what I'm going to be writing it about. So what I'm usually looking for is either a title or at least a premise. In this case, it was more of the premise, and what I shook loose lyrically on that one was, so I'm going to talk about two people that meet, forge a good bond, and then one of them has to leave, and they've got to use, modern day technology to have their relationship because they're not going to be in person in each other's space. Then I made it romantic, and I'm thinking, okay, so I got to come up with some way to say love at first sight that hasn't already been said. And so I came up with one laugh and one look, just probably because I'm an entertainer, and so I will fall in love with you if you laugh at my jokes.
I've been duly warned.
Yeah, well, probably not you. I bat for the other team, but but that's a thing. You know, I like to. So that's where the title "One Laugh and One Look" came from. But it could also be that I hear something that just sounds like a great title, and then I'll build a story around it because that'll be a hook line. Once that's in place, then the words and the music kind of come simultaneously. But the music part of it, seriously, I usually not spend more than 15 to 30 minutes coming up with a chord progression that I like and a melody that goes over the top of it. It's knowing where it's going, like what story am I going to tell? It's the trick. So when I come across one, I sit down and do something with it right away.
Yeah, that's fascinating because there's so many points of entry to a song. It could be a hook, either musically or lyrically, right?
Hmm.
It could be a story, it could be a mood, it could be just noodling around on whatever instrument,
Hmm.
and I love that about songwriting in particular. It's a marriage of words and music. When it's done right, neither one of them is quite as good as they are together, you know?
Right. Well, song lyrics are not poetry. They're lyrics, and they're designed to match up with a musical, background. So it's a different skill set. And also, you're talking about something that's maybe you're trying to connect with people in a slightly different way. So it's different than just like conversation speak, but it's also not quite what you'd call, like beautiful artistic poetry by, I don't know, Walt Whitman or whoever. So that it's sort of a skill in and of itself. But yeah, I agree with you. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Yeah, and then once you have the song, you might think, "Oh, okay, my work is done." But as you pointed out earlier in this conversation, the recording is an entirely different animal. And by the way, if you guys go and listen to the recording, the studio recording of this song, you'll have the opportunity, among other things, to get to hear Steve harmonize with himself vocally, which obviously can't be done in a live stream. So, can you talk a little bit about what went into either for this particular song or in general, what goes into the arrangement and production once the song itself, once the words and music are done?
Yeah, it's a multi-step process. The first thing is once the melody and the chords are basically there, then I really sit down and try to hammer out an arrangement for what I want it to sound like, and it's got to sound good, just piano vocal to me. Like and by arrangement I mean what kind of tempo, what kind of groove, what kind of whatever. And so this might have started out like I still don't know why I went to that pie shop. It's more my style to go to an IHOP, but I had the urge. Well, all it took was. But once I've got that melody in there, then I got to decide, how do I want it to sound? And so I play around with different ideas. And by the time I got comfortable with it on piano, I had this feel. Da 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 bum ba ba bum bum ba ba bum bum. And so then I can take that and build a bass guitar part and a drum part underneath it that helps express that. And once that's in, then I take those individual parts and I transfer them over into my recording software, and then I lay down a piano part, and then I lay down a lead vocal, and then it's time to send the next layer is usually my guitar player.
It's so interesting about the feel, right? Because it has such a bouncy, upbeat vibe. But as you demonstrated, it could have gone another way. It could have been
Oh, sure.
it could have been a more reflective, you know, and had a completely different feeling to it. I think personally that this song is the most commercially accessible on the EP, and
I kind
therefore
of feel that way
making it
too.
first. Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with the mood, I think, and that uplifting kind of, you feel like you want to move listening to it. It has a positivity that just kind of emanates from that bouncy, you know
I tried to
proved.
give it that because I felt like the story was something I think all of us would like to live, you know, and in some way or another, if not the particulars of the story, the emotion of the story is something we all want to live. And so I wanted it musically. If you weren't dialed into the words that much, I wanted it musically to be something that made you feel like the words of the story are supposed to make you feel. So I wanted it to be an uplifting, very kind of happy sounding
Pep in your
song.
step. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of gooey happy. So
Very cool. You mentioned that the next step after you got the basic tracks down, you usually send it off to your guitar player. You want to tell us a little bit about who that is?
yes, and that'll bring us into the next song on the album really well too, because he did some beautiful work on it. So I do most all of my work in the studio with a guy named Chris Pinnock, who I'm very proud to work with. Chris was he was the guitarist for Chicago from 1980 to 1986, and he was there during the era that was my favorite. They were my favorite band growing up. So at the time that Chicago was coming out with things like and of course that was his tenure in the band. And so while he didn't necessarily play on every one of those recordings because David Foster was the producer, and David Foster likes to bring his own musicians to most things, he did play on different parts at certain layers of different songs and those things, and he played them with the band on tour 5,000 times when they were out in those years. And he's just a brilliant musician, and ends up being the nicest guy I've ever met too.
How did you first connect with him?
I met, I don't know if anyone remembers MySpace. Back in the days of MySpace, I was putting some original music up, and it was just like piano vocal demos, and they were terrible quality. But a woman in Indiana kind of liked what she heard, and she was a singer-songwriter too, and she asked me if I would write some music to some words that she had written, and I said sure. And so she sent me the words, and I made a little demo of the thing, and just a piano vocal. And she said I don't know if you're familiar with Chris Pinnock, but I connected with him, and he said he would play guitar on this for us. And I was like, no shit, Chris Pinnock? God, I mean, I remember reading his name in the liner notes to Chicago 17 when I was 6 years old. I was a nut for him. So I was very excited by that, and so I coordinated with him to get that record finished, because he kind of helped build out the rest of the recording, and just kind of stayed in my Rolodex. And a couple of years down the road, I called him and I said, I really want to make some proper recordings of my music, and I don't know what you charge. And he gave me a quote, and it was affordable, and I said, I can't think of anyone I'd rather be doing the work. And ever since, I think we've done 22, 23, maybe more like 25 tracks together now. So
That's amazing. I always love hearing stories about how people, open up their worlds and open up to opportunities and possibilities that they never would have even occurred to them. And one big theme is, in the modern world that we live in, it's pretty incredible how relatively easy it is to connect with nearly anyone. And you'd be surprised just by reaching out and asking somebody via an email or a social media message. You might be surprised to learn that someone is willing to talk to you and willing to play guitar on your record. You never know.
yeah.
So,
and how normal of a person they might be, even though they've done something big. Just a second, I have to address this. This is my friend Scott Grove, who's also a brilliant guitar player, who has played with many country legends. He says he won't use me on guitar because he's a traitor. And I just want you to know, Scott, The only reason I don't have you play on my recordings is that a person should never hire someone that they don't feel like they can fire. And you're one of my best friends. I couldn't fire you, so, come on. You know I love you, buddy. And Scott Zuckerman says, I think you should write a song about me. Okay, but I don't think it'll have a romantic undertone. Anyway, sorry, carrying on. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I've had the pleasure of getting to interact with some people who've been, sort of on the big game board here and there, and I've been very delightfully surprised how down to earth most of them are. And at the end of the day, they're not about, they're happy that they've been a part of successful stuff, but what they're really about is they're about the work. And so if you're doing good work and they can be a part of it, they're usually pretty excited to do that, as long as, I don't think they're looking to do it philanthropically, but but if you can afford their fee or whatever, they're not going to be averse to working with somebody just because they're not a big deal. They're happy to work with people that they think they can do good work with. So he's been a dream to work with. He really has. So, and the second song on the album really kind of featured him. I sent it off to him, and he sent this thing back to me with like this awesome guitar harmony thing at the beginning as sort of an intro, and I was like, I was over the moon for it. I was like, where did you come up with that? Like, I had that wasn't in my mind at all, which is, I've had this experience. I used to send a lot of ideas to him about what I wanted him to do, and then he would always send that stuff back to me along with 10 things that he thought of that were way better than anything I'd come up with. So now I send him as much of a blank slate as I can and just say, Chris, just do what sounds good to you. And if I have any ideas for things we can add after that, that's great. But he always exceeds my expectations. And he sent it back. He goes, I hope you like it. We don't need to use it, but I had this kind of Allman Brothers idea.
Yeah, totally. That's totally the vibe I got from it.
And
yeah.
I love it. So maybe I should play that song and then we can talk a little bit about it.
Let's do it.
Okay. Cool. This one's called You're Beautiful. We'll tell the story after the song. 2. I better bring the words up. Again, I don't know the words to my own songs, for heaven's sake. I don't play them often enough. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. First time I saw you, I was completely blown away. I knew some of heaven's finest work was on display. And I knew what I felt and what I wanted to convey, but I just couldn't find the words to say. Something about your long blonde hair above your deep brown eyes turned off my brain and kicked my heart right into overdrive. And I could not remember ever feeling so alive. So I decided that I had to try. But you're beautiful is all that came to mind. I really tried to be creative for you at the time. But when I saw your face, I couldn't find another line. But you're beautiful is all that came to mind. I can't believe it worked and that you fell in love with me. And 10 years later, going strong, as happy as can be. Laughing, dancing, loving one another constantly. Is this real or am I in a dream? Even after all this time, I struggle every day. I'll hold you close and kiss you deep, but I wonder what to say. I want to be original and maybe less cliched, but then it just comes out the same old way. Oh, you're beautiful is all that comes to mind. You'll never know how hard I've tried to find a better line. But when I see your face, it slips out every single time. You're beautiful is all that comes to mind. Yes, sir. You think I'd be more clever? You think I'd be more hip? You think I'd have a million words just rolling off my lips? But every time I see you, nothing else will do than to tell you just how beautiful you are. Damn, I love you. You're beautiful is all that comes to mind. You'll never know how hard I've tried to find a better line. But when I saw your face, it slips out every single time. You're beautiful is all that comes to mind. Yeah, you're beautiful is all that comes to mind. You'll never know how hard I've tried to find a better line. But when I see your face, it slips out every single time. You're beautiful is all that comes to mind. You're beautiful is all that comes to mind. Yeah, you're beautiful is all that comes to mind. Okay, let me bring Eric back into the mix here.
So now you can like do a medley where you go right from there into Ramblin' Man with that guitar lick.
Lord, I am born a rambling man, trying to make a living and doing the best I can. Yep.
Cool. So what's the story behind this one?
So this one is, it has its origins at the same pie shop, actually.
Wow, you got a lot of material out of that place.
I know. It's a great fountain. I never don't go there now when I go to Estes Park, just in case. But the following year in 2018, I went and an equally gorgeous girl from Lithuania was there, and she was also a sweetheart, and we also connected. And actually, when I went on the European adventure, I went and hung out with her for a couple of days in Lithuania and showed me all over. That's a beautiful country that was not on my radar at all. Like, so that's like the coolest thing that came out of it was I would never probably even thought to go see the place, but beautiful green lakes and hills, and it's really a great place. Anyway, but what was funny about this one is really not, this doesn't have so much real life in it. What happened was I met her and we became Facebook friends and whatnot, and she would post, she has friends who were photographers, and so they'll take these pictures of her, and like the thing that's hilarious to me is that she's the girl next door. Like if you see her normally, she's cute, but she's just kind of like shy and just normal, kind of acts like a normal person. But her friends will coax her into these like poses, and she'll look like a glamour model, you know. and so would put these pictures that her like really talented photographer friends would put up on Facebook, and of course get like, you know, 1,000 likes, and all these random guys would be writing, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful," and I started laughing about it because I realized as I would look at the comment feed on some of these, I'd start laughing because I'm like, these are clearly guys that have no idea how to talk to women at all. And not because women don't like to be told that they're beautiful, but like the way that they were doing it, it was like it was like a one-way trip to the friend zone, and I thought it was kind of funny. And but I remember being at a certain age where I didn't know how to talk to a pretty girl either when I would see her, and I would get tongue-tied, and either nothing would come out of my mouth or just some compliment that showed a complete lack of my own confidence would come out of my mouth. You're beautiful. And I thought, well, maybe there's something there for a story. And so it started out like that, and then I thought, well, people are going to want the protagonist of this story to get the girl, even if it doesn't normally happen in real life. And so I started angling it toward that. And then the great legacy of the song to me, though, was that I didn't get overly specific in the story. And so it started out as sort of having a playful poke at, guys who, kind of slobber all over themselves when they see a pretty girl. But it ended up just being kind of a sweet message that it's when you really feel that about somebody, it feels good to feel it, and it feels good to them to hear it. And so now I don't even focus on the guy in the story at all when I sing it. Instead, it's just it's become sort of an anthem that I think of. I love playing it on Valentine's Day or just any time, because it's a lovely sentiment, and I think that rings out of it more than the origin story. But I'm just being honest about where the origins came from. It came from the responses I was seeing on these Facebook photos that came up. So there you go.
Yeah.
Legend
and
killer.
It's interesting, right? Because it's the what comes across is the sincerity means a lot more than your ability to be clever or come up with a clever line or what have you. And
Yeah.
the way I think about the song is that the relationship has already been established. So she's not going to be turned off by being told she's beautiful. It's actually going to be heartwarming because of that sincerity that's being expressed.
Yes, exactly. And I like where it ended up. It ended up in a different place than it started, and where it ended up was sort of a surprise to me, and I really like it. I like it. And of everything on the new album, I don't play favorites with my songs. They're like my kids. They all mean something. They all mean something equal to me in different ways, but this one's my favorite one to play from the new album. It's got a really fun groove, and it's uplifting, and it's just, I love singing that one of everything. And I love singing all of them, but that one's kind of been my favorite one to perform.
Well, I do play favorites. And actually, the next track on the EP happens to be my favorite, which is Natasha Dove.
Ah, yes. Natasha Dove. This is the third song that was inspired by a girl in Colorado. Although, again, this was a good example of how I'm looking for a title all the time, right? Maybe I'll play the song first. Let me just say this. I hope everyone on here will take a few minutes and go down. First of all, down in the description, if you're interested in Eric's work, I've got links to all of his stuff down in the description as well. And then I have one link that's it's hyperfollow.com/pianomansteve. And that'll take you to all of the places that this music is streamed. So you can check it out there. But I hope that you'll listen to this one, if for no other reason than the guitar work on this one is breathtaking. I mean, there's a guitar solo on this song that, because Chris it's not just one part. He'll usually send me as many as 5 different guitar parts for a song, and could be just for a short period in the song, and it could be, but he's going to layer things on top of each other that then if he had to play live, he could pick the most important things from each of the 5 layers and perform it in a continuous whatever. But when he just sent the solo part to this, I'm listening to it, and I don't even have it in context with, like, I don't have my drums, bass, piano, vocal with it. I just heard the solo itself, and I could tell that it was absolutely stunning. It made me cry just hearing the guitar solo alone. And
It's a great solo, and because Steve is too humble to admit, he actually does a piano solo just before the guitar solo. And what I really dug listening to it is that you can hear the guitar doing some lacing over Steve's piano. I mean, it's a wonderful piano solo. And then the guitar takes over, and then Steve becomes the accompanist basically to the guitar solo. So what's kind of neat is they're trading off solos, but there's a hint of either instrument in each solo.
I just want you all to know that when I heard it, I thought to myself, I'm having goosebumps because I'm reliving the moment. I thought, I can't believe something that sounds like this is going to be on one of my records. And so it was one of the great moments in my life. And I'm going to play the song for you, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it, okay? I was all on my own, trying to make it alone. Had a hole in my heart that was tearing me apart. And then she came along like an angel sent down from above. Natasha Dove. She is gentle and warm, with a smile that I adore. She is tender and sweet, and she brings the best out of me. I believe in myself when I feel her nurturing touch. Natasha Dove. So I work and I strive, and the world eats me alive, and it's never enough, and I wanna just give up when I'm sure I can't win. I feel my strength again through her love. Natasha Dove. I'm a man on the move, and I'm chasing down big dreams, 'cause there's so much to do and even more to see, and I keep moving on because I am fueled by her love. Natasha Dove. So I work and I strive, and the world eats me alive, and I feel so ashamed, like I'm losing the big game when I get down and out. She heals my doubt with her love. Natasha Dove. Natasha Dove.
Man, what about the emotion, man? What about the
Well, that one I wrote musically to just like really, really let it rip.
Yeah,
You know?
to me, Steve, that's like you're shameless.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. There's a sweetheart out there that's a massage therapist that I met just back before Craigslist turned into a place to look for hookers and then murder people. It was a great place if you were in a new city, and I was traveling a fair amount back and forth between Nebraska and Nevada. It was a great place to find a massage therapist, and she had her own practice. It's called Venus Escape Spa. She's still in operation out there, and this is like 13 or 14 years ago. And I tried her out, and she was phenomenal. And so I've been using her every time I go through Denver, for a session or sometimes two if I'm there for a few days, ever since. And I knew her name was Natasha, but at some point in time, I don't remember why, because we've seen each other so many times. We become friends. We'll go have lunch or whatever, and then we'll go have an appointment. And just really nice gal, single mom. And we, through one of our conversations, she mentioned that her middle name was Dove. And that name, Natasha Dove, I told her that day, I go, I don't know why, but this really sounds like a song title to me. There's a poetic nature to your name, Natasha Dove. I don't have a story. I don't have a song written, but I said, and I would never do this if it would make you feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So please be honest if it does. But if you're okay with it, I'd like to hang on to that and possibly use it as a song title someday, if the right thing emerges. And she said, "Oh my God, it'd be an honor. Thank you." So nothing happened for about a year and a half. And I happened to be on my way to Colorado in 2018, on my way back toward Colorado from Nebraska, having visited my sisters in Lincoln at the time, where I live now. And this idea popped into my head that was very, very compelling. And I had to pull a car over to the side of the road and dictate the words that were pouring into my mind about it into my phone in a text message so I wouldn't lose them. And then when I got to my friend's house, my friend Brian's house, I typed them immediately on my laptop. And what it was is where the parallels with her, obviously it's her name, and because she's a massage therapist, her job is to help people ease tension and stress. And the idea came to me that I should write about a man, in this case, that I can identify with, who has got big ambitions, and he goes out and he's trying to pursue them. And the world is not always the easiest place on him. They don't just line up to support his vision, and he gets the hell kicked out of him. It's like someone trying to get a record deal or something. He's getting rejected every day. And he comes home deflated, feeling like a failure. And she helps heal his confidence so that he can get back on the road, because she believes in him even when nobody else does. And the words to it came almost in like one divine sitting. They just were going, and I think I only adjusted a couple of its, ands, and thes or something later that night. And luckily, I'd already had, this is a rare moment where I'd been working on this instrumental shell, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but I came up with this little... And I thought, well, that's kind of a neat little ditty, and I want to use that with something. And so, anyway, that's how the song came about. And I think I threw a little Easter egg in there just for Natasha besides her name. Her slogan for Venus Escape Spa is, come experience a nurturing touch. And so I threw that, I feel when I feel her nurturing touch, Natasha Dove. So that's about the only.
That's very cool.
So there you go. But yeah, I wanted something where I could sing it with a lot of conviction.
Like it really has a very different sentiment from Billy Joel's song Shameless. It's a different, it's a different theme. In Shameless, he feels incredibly vulnerable because he's always prided himself in being in control over his life. And he's so taken with this woman that he feels like, he doesn't have a choice now. Like he's past the point. Like this. And obviously your song has a completely different story behind it, but that passion and conviction in the vocal performance really made me think of Shameless. What I really also dig about it musically is there's this tension between the minor and the major. And in fact, like when I first heard it, I'm like, huh. Oh, so now we're going to hear something in a minor key from Steve, and like, no, wait a minute. And so, what do you have to say about that tension that exists in the chord progression there?
Just 1 second. Yes, Bill. She's the first person I sent it to because she deserved to hear it first. She was the namesake. So it was mostly a minor key, but I liked to resolve the phrases on a major chord. And the reason for that was, if you think about it, what's it saying? It's like, if you think, and the funny thing is that I don't do this stuff like consciously. It's only when I look at the song afterwards that I can see, oh, I did this and this and this, which makes sense with the story. But when you think about it, it's like major, it's like or minor key, it's like it's telling you how great she is. But if you think about the state of mind that he's in when he's going, I was all on my own, trying to make it alone at a home. It's like he's praising her, but he's in an energy that's kind of saying, I'd be nothing without this girl. I'm kind of, a broken shell of a man, and then she helps me lift up. And then when you get into I work and I strive, it's like it's a struggle and da. But every time we resolve it down to Natasha Dove, whether it's da 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 da, Natasha Dove,
right?
And it's always on that when I think about when the character is thinking about his rock there. You can't help but resolve it in a happy place. And then the struggles and trials and tribulations come back. But every time you resolve it back to Natasha Dove, and it talks about how, when I feel at my best is when I'm in her arms. Natasha Dove. So
yeah, I love that. I think that's such a cool juxtaposition.
So, yeah, and it's one of the first songs I ever actually wrote in a minor key. So it was kind of fun. So it was, of all, I would say if the last one was my favorite one to perform because of the vibe, this is my favorite recording that I've made. Just in terms of, I think that the production value across the board, the arrangement, the parts, and the way
guitar
that
solo.
It came out. Well, not just the guitar solo, but certainly the guitar solo. The performance, I think, I don't like to give myself a lot of praise in public. It's just not what my dad taught me to do, but I will give myself props. I think it's one of my better vocals.
Yeah.
And I think the piano,
and a great piano, yeah.
I think the piano part is really cool and all of that. So I just felt like top to bottom, it's one of the best records of anything that we've done up to this point. So, yeah. So,
well done.
Thank you. And that takes us to track 4, which is the second to last one on the album. And it's called Be With Me Tonight. Maybe I'll just play this one and then we can talk about it. Does that sound all right to you, sir?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. So we'll tell the story after we play this one. This one's, if the last one was highly passionate, this one's a little more innocent and sweet. But I have a soft spot in my heart for this one. I look forward to telling you about it.
We've waited so long so you could be sure, with no regrets or shame. See what you want by the look in your eyes. I know that you feel shy, so take my hand and follow me. Be with me tonight. Look so beautiful tonight. I'm so head over heels, and I'll remember all my life just how this moment feels. I couldn't be more in love with you. I promise I'll treat you right. So take my hand and follow me. Be with me tonight. We'll take it slow and learn as we go. We'll hold each other tight. With every touch, you'll feel the love I have for you inside. Come, don't be afraid, 'cause everything feels right. And take my hand and follow me. Be with me tonight. Oh yeah. We'll take it slow and learn as we go. We'll hold each other tight. With every touch, you'll feel the love I have for you inside. I couldn't be more in love with you. I promise I'll treat you right. So take my hand and follow me. Be with me tonight. Take my hand and follow me. Be with me tonight. Oh, take my hand and follow me. Be with me tonight.
All right.
Right on. So that sounds a lot different on the record too than the other tracks, because if only because of the percussion. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that one I wanted when I sent the tracks off to Chris, I remember telling him, I said that I want this to sound like we have a living room jam going on. Like, imagine that there's an upright acoustic piano, like a small upright, like one of those little studio ones, and some acoustic guitars, and maybe a trap set, but some people playing like congas and shakers and like an acoustic bass in front of a condenser mic, and just it was like, just imagine that we had a group of guys over and we're sitting in a circle in the living room and just kind of having a jam. And so the way that he decided to do it too, so I did put I put a regular trap set, but I also put congas and some shakers and things into the mix in my drum part, which was fun, which was interesting, and it was tedious because every single one of them had to be recorded by themselves so that we would have them isolated on a track, and then we could.
And a triangle? Did I not hear a triangle?
Yeah, there's a triangle, and that was on its own track as well, because we had to like decide where in the panning field to put it and all of that. So it was a lot of work, to be honest with you, but it was a lot of fun. And what Chris did with his guitar part was, he said, I think the best way to achieve that vibe is, rather than send you layers of guitar parts like I normally do, I'm just going to play it live from beginning to end, and I'll let you guys hack it up in the studio, in the mixing process into sections if you want to put this part in a different part of the panning field or whatever. So he just sent me one guitar track, solo and everything, and Bob and I hacked it up. I want to take a minute and recognize Bob Thacker too, who was my engineer. I'm going to be working with a new engineer going forward because he's in Mesquite, Nevada, and it's just not something I can do remote. But very talented guy. He's been a part of the Stagehands Union for many, 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 many years. He's in his 70s, and he took me under his wing, and he showed me how to record an album. Because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And he was generous with his time, and he charged me next to nothing. He's semi-retired, but just really, really showed me how to. So everything I know about sound reproduction, whether it's in a studio or out live, it's because Bob Thacker taught me what it was, and could not have been more of a mensch. He's the roughest dude you've ever met in your life, with a heart of absolute solid gold. So he told me a lot of horrifyingly inappropriate jokes that I can never say in a live stream. Like, I don't think I'll ever be able to run for Congress just having heard them. But he was also just couldn't have been a cooler guy. And we did a lot of studio tricks based on his knowledge to create the effects that we were looking for, creating duplicates of different parts and then running them at different EQs to create a fuller sound, and panning one way over here and stuff I would never have thought of in a million years. So he's a brilliant guy and a big part of the outcome of all of this. And the song itself, this was a challenge I gave myself. I thought, I know I'm not 18 anymore, but I was 18 once, and I don't want to limit my songwriting experience to only what I'm experiencing in my life right now. I want to be able to remember back to what different parts of my life felt like, and I just thought, write a song about what it feels like when you first fall in love with somebody, and not just, you kind of go through that anytime you fall in love with someone, even when you're like, that was one of the cool things about living in Mesquite, was it's a resort town with a lot of retirees, and I saw a lot of people who either after a divorce or after their partner had passed away, they'd meet up with somebody else, and it looks just like it does when you're 18, but when you've never had that happen before, there's something, kind of unique about that, and I just wanted to capture that feeling. So that's all this was an exercise in trying to get in that headspace again.
Yeah, very sweet song. It's also really cool hearing just the different inspirations, because, for instance, like, as much as I enjoyed Natasha Duff, I never would have had that insight into the song about the massage therapist and, that kind of interesting angle about someone relieving your stress. Literally, like that's what she does professionally. But
Yeah.
you know, of course, making a metaphor out of that.
Ruth only overdrinks in person sometime in Washington, D.C. Never where it will be recorded. It'll ruin me. Oh, my goodness. Real quick, before we move on to the last song here, I just wanted to take a second and show for anyone who's interested, this is what you'll see when you look the record up on the streaming services. That image, and I'm very proud of that photo. It was taken on my European trip, and it's actually a beach in Trieste, Italy, which is a really amazing place that I didn't know existed. And it's not a beach with sand like what we're used to in Southern California. It's basically a long sidewalk, and then there's some rocks and weeds and stuff, and then that's the Adriatic Sea that comes right up to it. And about every 300 or 400 yards, there's a staircase, like an iron staircase that that water can seep up around, and you can walk down the staircase right into the sea, and by the time you get there, you'll be chest deep in water. And we actually slept on the beach. It's a kind of a common thing. People will bring like mattresses and sleeping bags and stuff and just kind of hang there all night, and it was a really special experience. I just slept under the stars on that beach, and the next morning, so the cover, I'm not showered, I'm not anything, but I was looking out at that beautiful abyss of the Adriatic Sea and thinking, how freaking lucky am I to be on this amazing adventure and seeing these places and have cool people because of my work that would invite me to come do something like that in the first place. And they snapped a photo of me without me even realizing it, and they showed it to me, and I was like, I want that to be the album cover. And by then I knew I was going to call it Expansion, and there's this big expanse of water out there, and I just thought it was a good metaphor visually too. So now I got all the feels back in the moment. I'm going to play the last song on the record. We'll talk about it, and then it'll probably be time to show the video and let these folks get back to their lives. So we'll be back here for a little discussion on this song in just a moment. This is the fifth and final track off the new EP. This is something I wrote for my dearly departed dog, and then my dearly departed kitty cat. Chipper, the dog, passed in the summer of 2017, and then Spocky passed away in just before Christmas in 2018. And anyone who's like me understands that they're like family, and they were tough losses, but boy, I mostly feel a lot of gratitude just that they were part of my life, and that's what this one is for.
When they are puppies, they have so much sing, and running and playing, and sniffing and chewing on every last thing. Then as they get bigger and start to grow mild, they bring back that puppy again time they sense you need a smile. They stay by your ankles in case you might need them, just happy to be in your pack. As you both grow older, the one thing you're sure of is that ball of fuzz has your back. 4 legs and fur, innocent and pure. But there's something special inside their hearts, but what I'm not quite sure. And I know I'll never feel love that's more true and secure than came from my friends with 4 legs and fur. When they are kittens, they tear up your house, scratching and clawing and swatting and pouncing like they found a mouse. Your home is their kingdom, and they follow no rules. They'll go anywhere because they just don't care if you disapprove. They'll hide in the darkness for hours on end, then come out and whine for a meal. You think they don't care till they purr on your chest and show you how they really feel. 4 legs and fur, innocent and pure. There's something special inside their hearts, but what I'm not quite sure. And I know I'll never feel love that's more true and secure than came from my friends with 4 legs and fur. And then one sad day, we say our goodbyes. They take their last breaths, and the light leaves their eyes, and it breaks your heart right down to the core. 'Cause you know as much as you love them, somehow they loved you more. 4 legs and fur, innocent and pure. There's something special inside their hearts, but what I'm not quite sure. And I know I'll never feel love that's more true and secure than came from my friends with 4 legs and fur. And I know forever that I'll feel a love that endures for all my friends ones who came with 4 legs and fur.
Sorry, that one's hard for me to do.
Felt like you were reliving your memories while you were singing it.
I was, but not just the tough ones at the end.
Yeah.
Living
Yeah.
the fun ones.
Totally.
Too.
Yeah, totally.
So, anyway, I wanted to put something down for those two because they were a big part of my life for a decade, and I have not yet started the process again. But I need to, at some point, I need to get another dog and another cat, and because it's hard to go back to the responsibility once you're not in it. And yet, when you have a dog, the last thing you're thinking is, oh, what a pain in the ass this is, you know. But then when you don't have one and you've just been through the heartbreak of having to put it down or whatever, the last thing you want to do is start having to walk a dog every morning. So, sort of a tough cycle. But, yeah, that was the first waltz I ever wrote. I've never done a song in 3/4 time until that one. Anyway, I probably have said about everything there is to say about that. Do you have any other questions, man, that you wanted to touch on before we release the video?
This was just a lot of fun, and I want to congratulate you on making this the official launch of putting your music out there. It's a brave thing anytime you create something from your heart and soul and you put it out there in the world, and it's like sending your kid off to college or off even beyond. You don't know how the kid's going to do, but you put a lot into raising them,
Yeah. Well, and these are kind of like kids, they start out as an idea in your mind and they grow up in front of your eyes. They start working their way out on the keyboard, and then eventually every time we would get to the final, because when you're running it through the mastering software, and you've got your final mix, and you have to play it from beginning to end as the mastering software is running to give it that final levels boost,
that
so
little
it's broadcast
sheen.
grade. Yeah. And every time I get a song to that point where we're going to play it for the last time as we run it through the mastering software, I get a little bit choked up. It is because it feels a lot like what I imagine a father giving his daughter away at a wedding would feel like. It's like, you're still here, you'll always be my baby, but you belong to the world now too. You're not just mine anymore. And I'll never have I can play these for you and I can talk about them, but I'll never have the relationship with these songs again that I had when I was nurturing them and raising them into the recordings. So, and now they're down for posterity. So yeah, it's an emotional thing to do, actually, now that I talk about it. And that I try not to be overly emotional just for the sake of it, like a lot of artists do, but that's true. So, well, this has been a lot of fun for me, too. And so, guys, the moment has come. This is, I guess we'll call this the official single off of the EP. And we'll come back and say goodbye after this is over. But I'll probably have a false start on this because of the way the software runs. But this is the official video shot in Europe 2019 of One Laugh and One Look. You're the first audience to see it. And
world premiere.
When it comes to a conclusion here, I will make it live on my YouTube channel. So thank you very much for being here. Enjoy.
Pie shop, it's more my style to go to an IHOP, but I had the urge and it couldn't be denied, and I wasn't looking for love again, and most first I was out for one night stands, I couldn't face the thought of even more tears cried. But you walked out from that back corner and came my way to take my order. And when you looked at me, I was whole again. All it took was one laugh and one look from you, and my heart was back in business. All you did was smile and I was hooked on you, just like a kid at Christmas. It wasn't that much, just my whole world you should, with one laugh and one love. You smiled and giggled with me so sweetly, and I was afraid I might lose you completely when you said that you were going home across the ocean. But I knew I'd met someone special, and I knew that I'd feel so regretful if we never met again. That's when I got the notion to ask if we could keep in touch. And when you said you'd like that very much, it filled my heart with joy, and I knew we'd find a way. All it took was one laugh and one look from you, and my heart was back in business. All you did was smile and I was hooked on you, just like a kid at Christmas. It wasn't that much, just my whole world you should, with one laugh and one look. It took a couple of years of Instagramming and talking to each other by Facebook chatting before we had the chance to hold each other close. It was hard, but it was worth the wait, 'cause I was falling more in love with you every day. And now that you're here, I'll never let you go. All it took was one laugh and one look from you, and my heart was back in business. All you did was smile and I was hooked on you, just like a kid at Christmas. It wasn't that much, just my whole world you should. I can't believe how quickly I got hooked. It might sound crazy, but I swear that all it took was one laugh and one look. One laugh, one look. Well, that's all it took to get me hooked. One laugh, one look. Yeah.
Steve Lungrin, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you. Well, this has been a pleasure to do. It means a lot to me that I have this platform, this wonderful live streaming platform to do things like this that I never really had a good place to go do, you know, other than maybe for my friends and family locally. But like, this is a group of people who really care about me and my career and my music. And so to be able to do fun events like all Billy Joel shows and all Elton John shows and Valentine's Day specials and New Year's Day, concert specials, and to be able to share my music and all of that, it really means a lot to me. And Eric, you were very generous with your time today. Thank you so much. Your friendship means a lot to me. I look forward to hanging out with you in California one of these days in the not terribly distant future. Maybe you can go have lunch with me and Chris Pinnock, because he just lives over there in Chatsworth. So,
Nice.
so yeah, we'll hook up sometime. But anyway, thank you to everybody. I'm gonna let Eric do a sign out. Everyone, give Eric a big round of applause and thank him for his time, for helping put this thing together. And please do check out ericteplitz.com and on the other links that we have down there. He's excellent at what he does, and no matter what part of life you're trying to improve, he is someone who can help you do it. So I will talk to you after the stream for just a second, and I'm just going to sign off here. So everybody, I'm going to get out of here for now, but thank you again. Your support and your friendship means a lot to me. And remember, if you're a musician and you're not having fun when you're making music, you're not wrong. And as I say at the end of all my live stream shows, let's give as much love as we can to as many people as we can, as often as we can. We do not know when this ride comes to an end, so don't have any regrets. Leave it all in the court. Thanks for being here. Thanks for everybody who's going to watch it on replay. I hope that you'll go to my hyper follow link down there and check this out on Spotify and Apple Music and YouTube Music and Amazon Music and everywhere that music is streamed. And also my previous albums are there as well. And I'm going to be releasing cover music there very soon as well. So hopefully that will become a new major part of my career, is my presence on these streaming platforms. Thank you. You know how much I love you guys. We'll talk to you soon. I'll be back next Sunday with another show.